Hi, good evening. First of all, Oscar and William and the other cockroaches at SOSV or China Accelerator, thank you for having me. I want to remind everyone that William did miss investing in our Series A round many years ago, so I kind of have to remind him. And also, I also want to congratulate William for, I believe he was nominated to the Fortune 54 under 54. So William, congratulations on that as well. Um, Creating a successful business is achieving the impossible. It's not easy and it's not clear how it's done. Where does the spark of innovation come from, which motivates entrepreneurs to climb mountains, to fight bears, to wrestle sharks, to ultimately achieve success? It sometimes seems as if it comes out of the ether, the spiritual realm, maybe a shower faucet, or it crawls from a Darwin-inspired primordial soup. If I just had the idea, I would be able to run with it. I hear that a lot. A lot of people also ask me, hey, how did you come up with the idea to build your businesses? And for clarification purposes, I've built a number of businesses over the years. Does it come from the unconscious? No, I believe there's a rigor or a systematic way to come up with entrepreneurial business ideas. To put it simply, I think there's a way to come up with a good idea. I'd like to share with you today 4 observations or ideas on how to come up with a business idea. The first one comes from, you could say, the visionary founder. This gets in the media a lot. I want to change the world. Well, that's kind of nice. I want to change an industry. I want to help consumers. Jack Ma clearly is the best example. He has this messianic vision to help businesses do business better. Every single company within the Alibaba portfolio is around helping companies, whether it's their enterprise marketplace, their consumer business, payments, cloud. Grab, which is going to be speaking later today, has an amazing vision. Drive Southeast Asia forward. Those exceptional founders and senior executives at Grab certainly have an immense vision, and it's one way to think about a business. Another one, and probably one that some of you are probably familiar with, is Meituan. I love their vision. We help people live better. Wang Xin, one of the founders of Meituan, just really grabs a hold of that. Having a big vision is one way to start a business. It's not how we did it, but it's something to keep in mind. A second way that we've seen a lot, I kind of describe it as the can't miss genius. We see a lot of people in Silicon Valley, they have some specialty AI set of skills. Maybe they understand a specific geography, maybe human-computer interaction, maybe something to do with machine vision. This I describe as a pedigree-driven approach. They have a certain set of skills or background. They are a solution looking for a problem. Now, if one has that pedigree, that might be an interesting way to start a business. It's a little bit slower and it may work. We don't see it too often, but we do see it. The third way, which is the one as I'm both an entrepreneur and an investor that I certainly love, is the problem solver approach. Many of you have read Eric Ries's, Lean Startup. And within that book, he talks about how can you really get close to a few customers and really try to understand their problems. As an investor, I love that approach. There's a great company in New York I'm considering investing in. They want to disrupt the personal or executive assistant industry. What's amazing about these founders is they have interviewed 100 executive assistants. They videotaped those conversations. They've documented everything they've said. They've prioritized. They've created meta tags. They've tried to figure out what is the exact pain point. What is the friction? What is the problem? What is the specific need that these executive assistants have? And frankly, they're creating an amazing set of products and services around that. It's coming up, it's trying to figure out what's the pain point and coming up with a solution. We've seen that in other categories as well. Some of you might be familiar with Airbnb, Brian Chesky, Joe Treppi, Nathan, this is the classic story. They're living in San Francisco in an apartment. And during conferences, events in San Francisco, there weren't enough hotel rooms. That was a very, very specific problem for the friends attending those conferences and events. And they started realizing, wait a minute, can we rent out one of our spare bedrooms? They figured out, they identified a very specific problem and came up with an amazing solution. And frankly, the rest is history. Now, the fourth way that we find inspiration with coming up with business ideas is frankly the way me and my co-founders have done it. We've founded 3 companies over the years, and we take a businessman approach. Some of you may be familiar with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire. He says, show me the money. Well, my founders and I, we always thought about where is the money in every single business opportunity that we're looking at. Our first company was called Xiaowei, which is a sports website in mainland China. It was our first venture. And by the way, Xiaowei means brave shark in Mandarin. When we were having a drink at the Den in Beijing, for those of you who are familiar with China, the Den used to be one of the most, hip bars in the city. We recalled what Rupert Murdoch had told us, that News Corporation, one of the biggest media conglomerates in the world, made a lot of money from the sports business. And we thought, well, wait a minute, if Rupert Murdoch makes a lot of money in sports, why can't we make sports online and make a lot of money that way? Well, taking that inspiration, traditional media makes a lot of money in sports. Why can't we do it in the online mobile space? Well, we built a great business. SoftBank, Intel, IDG invested in our company, and we eventually sold it to another conglomerate. Our second startup, the same co-founders, we started thinking about, we were now sitting at the lobby of the China World Hotel, which is, one of the big 5-star hotels in Beijing. And, we were frankly drinking overpriced, bad tasting coffee when we realized, and one of our founders had mentioned that half of magazine advertising went to women's magazines. And we're like, well, wait a minute. If half of magazine advertising is related to women's magazines, why don't we create a digital women's magazine? So at that point in time, we founded a company called Gaogunxia, which for those of you who don't speak Mandarin means high heels. Again, we built a great business, we hired a great team, and we eventually merged it with another internet company. Again, we took a top level approach. Where is the money being made? Show me the money. In this case, advertising, and then build a business around it. Our third company, which is probably the most well-known, is called Chunar. Now, Chunar means where are you going in Mandarin? And me and my co-founders, again, I guess we were always downgrading ourselves. Now we met at a Starbucks, and we were having coffee at the Airport Express in Hong Kong, talking about, hey, the 3 of us need to do another business. What is it going to be? And one of my co-founders said, well, hey, Google is this mega company and it makes so much money. Why not we figure out where does Google make most of its money, and can we carve out a piece for ourselves? Very, very simple. Again, top down, where is the money? And we realized that after a little bit of research that Google made a lot of money from travel, from financial services, from automotive, and from medical healthcare. Those were the 4 big verticals in 2004, 2005. And we thought, okay, let's just pick one. Let's try to dominate that space. Let's try to build a better mousetrap. And so frankly, we built a great business. And obviously the rest is history. So frankly, our approach in trying to figure out a business idea is pretty basic, right? Is where's the money, where's the share of wallet, and let's follow it. Now there's a fifth. I mentioned I was going to share with you 4 ideas. Well, there is a 5th idea. Some of you who may be familiar with Confucius, he talked about many, 1,000 years ago. There are only 3 ways to learn. You could think about things, you can learn from your mistakes, or you can copy others. Well, if you're still stuck with coming up with an idea, you can copy others. Why not go to the Sequoia website, go to the Google Ventures website. You can analyze the top 50 companies that they've invested in, say in the last 12 to 24 months. You can try to see what the patterns are between all those companies. That's another way to get inspiration. Just look what quote unquote the smart money is doing. Or right at Chinaccelerator, William Bean, he's an SA, they say super angel, or maybe he's an FSA. I'll let you figure out what the word F means, but he's certainly invested in a bunch of companies. He has different reasons why he invested in those companies, and try to figure that out. So let me share with you just a few final thoughts on trying to come up with an idea to build a great business. Just remember to not take yourself too seriously. It's true that capability, drive, passion, strategy are all part of success, but so is serendipity, timing. Frankly, sometimes we have to fly blind and we hope we can land the plane without crashing it. So success or failure is only partially a reflection of who you are. Sometimes you need to laugh. Now, there are many ways to achieve success. I've outlined it. I've outlined 4 or 5 different ways to think about coming up with a business idea. Don't get stuck on any one way. There are a few different ways. Like Deng Xiaoping said, black cat, white cat, it doesn't really matter as long as it catches the mouse. And lastly, please enjoy the entirety of your entrepreneurial adventure. Some of you are in the early stages enjoying the landscapes of Alderaan. Others of you are at Mos Eisley Spaceport fighting some creature, or you're evading TIE fighters in the asteroid belt. And finally, some of you have already achieved some form of success. You have your intergalactic medal around your neck and you're standing next to a hyperfrenetic and maybe ungrateful Wookiee for achieving the impossible. It wouldn't be an adventure without it all. Just remember that. It would not be an adventure without it all.